Welcome back to Open Spaces, everybody. We're glad that you're joining us. We have had a few weeks off, but we're back. And we are excited because we could not finish our parenting series without having the intentional parents themselves, Brooke and Elizabeth Mosser out of Bend, Oregon. So that's who's on the podcast today. So
yes, we are very excited. You will recognize Brooke because he was on our podcast before, and Jeff interviewed Brooke, and Brooke vulnerably shared his story.
For the first time.
Talked about how we even know them after our podcast came out and they reached out to us. But Elizabeth is...
Which you got to go listen to that episode. If you have not heard that episode,
it's so powerful.
Go back. Brooke's episode is, so many people have told us, wow, that story was crazy. And so it's really a great one.
But you get to hear from Elizabeth today as well. And she is an incredible force.
She's amazing.
They together with Elizabeth's parents run Intentional, which is an incredible ministry we'll talk more about on the episode. Incredible resources for parents. And you will love them. They're amazing friends of ours now. They're new friends, but we have gone deep quickly and love them. And you're gonna love this episode for sure.
Yes, and you'll see that we are, it's the middle of summer, so you can all relate. Like that's we're trying to juggle kids at home, jobs, all the stuff. And so you see that right off the bat. We needed some space, so we went out and went away to a lake house. Some friends offered us. So that's where we're recording this, and it's awesome because this is just real life, people. This is what we're doing. So welcome back to Open Spaces.
Well, guys, you are in for a treat. We have the amazing Brooke and Elizabeth Mosser with us today.
Yeah, we do.
Our dear friends.
Yes.
And if you have been in the Open Spaces journey, you have most likely heard Brooke's story. Brooke was in town visiting and got to come to our house and record a podcast with Jeff, which was incredible.
Like so much that literally Brooke the other day at our kids swim meet, I was talking to a new guy, and he was like, my wife loves y'all's podcast. She literally just the other day sent me the episode where you were talking to the intentional guy, like whatever. She's like, that's the one you have to listen to. The intentional guy. And I was like, yeah. I was like, that's awesome. That one is really, and it's been so helpful for people, your vulnerability. But you
we're
on
so
our podcast
blessed to have
awesome.
Elizabeth with us.
We
today.
get the other half.
Hello, so happy to be here. So happy.
So grateful. So y'all are in Bend, Oregon, just to kind of catch people up.
And where are we, Jeff?
Oh my God.
Yeah, Booge Town. You guys are in Booge Town. Where the heck are you?
You're watching on YouTube, just at our home. The podcast is doing extremely well. I don't know. We are actually at a very gracious friend's lake house who is letting us be here. So that's where we are, and why it is bougie behind us, but it's not us. It's just this gracious, generous man at our church that let us come. That's because I was feeling like I was at a breaking point. So let's be honest. The reason we're here is
we'll get to that in a minute.
Oh, okay. We won't talk yet about that. Okay.
First of all, for those who might not have heard Brooke's episode, tell us about Intentional. Tell the people about Intentional and what you guys are doing, and a little bit about your family.
Yeah.
Got it. What do you want?
You tell about Intentional, I'll tell about our family.
I knew this was going to happen. You hate the logistics of talking about what we do. No, you don't hate it, but you're like, you feel more comfortable with the family. Anyway, Intentional. Well, Intentional is a nonprofit that exists to help spiritual formation in the family, but really it's basically a platform to help families in any stage and situation. So a lot of relationship work, a lot of family, marriage, parenting, fatherhood and motherhood work. We do that through podcasts. Yes, we have the Intentional Parents podcast, Intentional Fatherhood podcast, and we do that through events as well. And so, I mean, one of my favorite points this year was you guys leading worship at our motherhood retreat in Nashville. What a treat that was.
So fun.
And I mean, is this too soon to announce that you're going to do the next one? I mean, like, is that fine to say?
Okay. People, we're going to be in Portland.
Yes.
We're never doing it without you ever again.
You kind of did lock yourselves into something. Anyway, but yeah, we do that through events, and our events are conference style for sure. But, you know, so much of our hope is that they're transformational, not just informational. So we use the word retreat on purpose because it's time to get away. So if you're feeling exhausted, like our friends here on Open Spaces, actually, if you're alive and listening to this, you're probably exhausted. So
Yeah.
do that through events and through different written resources. So yeah, Elizabeth and I do that. Before this, we were in full-time vocational ministry. I was a pastor for about 18 years, and that was our world. We didn't plan on stepping into this, but it has become a lot of our life now. And it's cool that we get to do it together. And if you did hear the episode that I did with you guys, which was such a wonderful conversation, from my vantage point, I had such a lovely time just having that conversation. You can also know how to pray for Elizabeth specifically, being married to me. So
that's good. Yes, go back and listen to that. So then you know.
Oh gosh.
So yes, we have a family though.
We do have a family. We like to say, it's unique to be doing this type of ministry when you are still in the thick of raising your kids.
Totally.
So we love to say that we are not experts, because that's very true. We are not experts.
Very true.
But we are practitioners. And what that looks like for us is we've been married almost 20 years. We have 4 kids. Our oldest, Duke, is almost 17. So high school, job, girlfriend, the whole thing. And then we have 3 girls. Our daughter Scarlett is 14, who you guys actually got to lead with her.
Wait. I don't want to cut you off, but she heard we were talking. I said we were driving to the lake yesterday because we were doing like a little family day. And I told Elizabeth, I said, hey, so we're jumping on a call with Jeff and Jordan tomorrow. She goes, Jeff and Jordan? What are they doing? What are you guys doing? Or were you guys hanging out with them? Tell them hi. She was like almost like jealous. I was like, no, it's just a call.
You can come too, just jump on
She loves you guys.
Scarlett worshiped with us at the motherhood retreat.
Keep her out for Scarlett.
Oh, y'all, she's incredible.
Yes.
She is an amazing girl. So we love her.
And Duke is too.
Duke is a stud too.
Stud.
Okay, keep telling us you're going.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the older 2, and we've got a bit of an age gap. Then we have Birdie, who's 10, and Sloan is 8.
Mm-hmm.
So we are deep in the thick of parenting and all the spiritual formation that happens as you parent and are still growing up as you parent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's us.
I love that the way you described intentional and like your retreats as like what your desire for them to be transformational. 'Cause we did get to lead at the motherhood retreat in Nashville, and it was transformational for me. I mean, it was
and me.
Such
I'm
a
not the mom. I was changed.
I mean, it really was, and for our whole band. I mean, we've told you guys this, but what you guys are doing is really impacting on such deep levels, and what you're offering in the form of resources, specifically with your retreats, is it is so powerful. And I want to speak to some of the specifics of that, because I mean, I want people listening to come to these retreats and to see what you guys are doing firsthand. But I want to talk to you, Elizabeth, specifically, because one of the most powerful moments for me was in the first session, how you and your mom spoke together. And I will say for me, so anybody who has listened to, you can go back and listen to the Brooke episode, because it is important and everyone should listen to it. And it kind of, we speak to how you guys how we're even friends now. You guys somehow found our podcast. Elizabeth, you found our podcast and reached out. And Elizabeth, you and I have talked about how we have a lot of similarities in just the ways that, like, our upbringing and family of origin, and even like some of our perfectionistic tendencies. But I loved seeing you and your mom up there, your mom, I would put her in that category as well, just like that kind of perfectionistic, but 2 incredibly like strong, solid women, beautiful, very much look so put together. And you both stood there and were so vulnerable with each other, and just kind of unlocked this level of vulnerability from the very beginning. Would you just kind of, I want you to tell everybody what that was. And then I want Elizabeth to go back and kind of talk about your family of origin and how, kind of how it brings you to where you are today and what you're doing, and how that's impacted your story, but also like right now in like the life that you're living, that you're raising your kids. So I know that's a lot, but just kind of whatever. Speak to that.
Yeah, no, I love that you're highlighting that, because for lack of a better word, at the motherhood retreat, that was very intentional of starting the retreat that way, because we live in a culture that loves to show everybody our best foot forward all the time, to show everybody a part of us, the parts that we have all together or that we want to appear to have all together, which that might be very well and true, but that is just a part of us. There's whole other parts of us that don't have it together. And when we read the scriptures, never once do we see any story, any words of Jesus, any scripture that says, put your best foot forward, fix everything and then come to Jesus. No, it's the exact opposite. And at that retreat specifically, we were highlighting just these various points through the Sermon on the Mount, which is Jesus's words of how do you flourish this side of heaven, basically. How do we experience the kingdom of God coming to earth right now? And he's getting ready to share with these people who have heard about this Messiah that might be coming. They're hearing all these things that this man Jesus has been doing and all this healing that's happening. And there's thousands of people gather around him. And the first words out of his mouth are, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And just that idea of if those are the first words coming out of Jesus's mouth, and then he goes on to say, you're blessed if you're persecuted, you're blessed when you're mourning, you're all these things that we would not want to post in stories on Instagram about, right?
Yep.
We're not trying to project to the world all of these really broken, desperate parts of us. And yet Jesus says, this is actually where you're flourishing, where you experience me in the kingdom of heaven the most, is where you are the most poor in spirit, which is the words there in the Greek are poor would have been hand to mouth, literally you don't know where your next meal is coming from, that level of dependence. But then he says in spirit, deep in your soul, at your core, dependent, weak, needy, that is where we experience the kingdom of heaven the most right now. And so the reason we out the gate start talking about that is to try to get the women there to just immediately be honest with themselves and with each other and with God about where those places are in their life. Because truly, in my own lived experience, and I know for so many, where we experience the Holy Spirit, where we experience God the most is in the places we're able to be the most honest with him about, which usually are not our areas of strength. God already knows our strength. It's our areas of weakness and failure and sadness and desperation. And you guys know above anybody else, literally open spaces exist for this. If somebody is just willing to go first and be honest about what that is looking like in their life right now, what it's looked like in the past, what Jesus has done, it gives freedom for everybody to have honest conversations, whether in a public place or in their community around a dinner table, with their friends, with their spouse. But somebody just has to have the courage to go first.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that was the whole point of what we tried to do at the retreat.
You should probably tell them where you got that idea. Just an insecure thought over here for me, where that idea came.
Tell me where I got that idea.
Oh my gosh.
Brooke, did you do that? Oh my gosh, Brooke, that's so
That's
sweet.
all I needed. That's all I
don't want
needed.
to say the wrong thing. I don't want to say the wrong thing.
No, I'm laughing because we did this at the fatherhood retreat. And
yes. Okay.
There's
All right,
also fatherhood retreats. And Brooke did it, everybody. Dads,
I need
Brooke
a good
is
old
a
pat
great
on the back.
vulnerable dad.
I
I'm not actually insecure about it. It's a joke. But no, it actually, I'll say this to that point, and I don't need to answer that same question, but to say this is also universal. We did this I was so skeptical of men coming into that space being so guarded. You got all the professionalism. You got so many layers of stuff that they're going to project, especially, I think even more than women, honestly, that they bring into that space and probably will, unless they're either invited, even if they are, doesn't mean they're going to let their guard down. And so Justin Early, who I do intentional fatherhood with, where I was like, dude, what if we just confess what we're dealing with right now, but don't tell each other, like a true confession on stage?
Right.
And so we did. And I didn't know if it'd work, in the sense of just setting a table. And it was wild. And then when we all saw it, we're like, we've got to do this forever. Anyway, that's a roundabout way of me saying that was my idea, and I'm so insecure that I had to say it right now on air.
You're right.
Everyone,
Thank you. That's all I wanted. Yeah, this is a double clap.
Led by Brooke. Oh my
This
God.
feels like too much. This feels like too much.
No.
This is backfired. This is backfired completely. I'm sorry.
Let
Keep going.
another man praise you and not your own lips. Isn't
Yeah.
that the scripture?
Yeah, I just praised myself. I lost the reward. Dang it. Anyway, sorry to derail this podcast with my insecurity. Keep going.
But it is good. I'm glad you explained it, because that I wanted people to understand what you were doing. You were telling each other like what you were actually wrestling with going into this conference from stage. You displayed it for everyone to see. It was so powerful, and I love. It truly did like break down every wall. Like, and then you gave us the opportunity to find a partner and do it together as well, even if it was a perfect stranger, which was amazing.
Yes, and that's something that has drawn us to y'all is the vulnerability to which you live your life, which is not very normal in its culture, and especially in church world. And so for us to find people like y'all who would stand up in front of others and share your weakness and not just boast about how great you are.
Right.
You are great, but you lead by your examples of weakness, and that. And what has drawn us to you guys and been so special. Can we talk for a second about some of those areas, just Elizabeth, too? Like, y'all are in the thick of it with a lot of different things happening in your life, from health to family to kids. Would you be willing to talk through some of those things right now that are happening in your world as parents and that are challenging for y'all right now, and just the wrestles that you have had to relate to other parents listening right now on the podcast of what does it look? I mean, we're looking at y'all and y'all look perfect and you're beautiful. So like, tell us something to help
It's lighting.
Like what's happening.
Really good lighting.
It's really good lighting.
All white,
and you're in all white like an angel. We're look at us, the evil in the black.
Listen, you have two options in this life: black or white, and these are fashion choices. That's as you get older, you pick one. One covers, one exposes.
It's crazy, Jordan. I'm like Elizabeth.
That's true.
Anyway,
oh gosh.
Okay, sorry.
Actually, though, I mean, maybe to paint the story for if you aren't familiar with our family scenario, so Elizabeth has an insane amount of chronic health conditions, autoimmune based, that have just caused all sorts of various problems, massive problems, really, and we'll talk about that for sure. I mean, a week from today, she's about to go in for a major back surgery, and that's our whole world is kind of pivoting towards that in her health journey. We have a little girl with special needs. That wasn't on the table as far as plans. We have 4 kids, so just the quantity of children we have, even if everything was like baseline great, it's just that quantity of needs is unique. And then we have a lot of neurodivergence. We have a lot of ADHD, OCD, things that are very, massive anxiety, which again, generationally, I think certain people hearing that will go, well, oh, doesn't everybody like no, but B, a lot more people do than you realize. And it's not actually a sign of, having ADHD or OCD or these other anxiety. They are words that help describe a person's reality. And you have to identify that in your kids, especially because you will parent them vastly different if you understand those dispositions. And a lot of neurodivergence isn't weakness. It's actually, usually a superpower in many ways. And we love to talk about it like that because most people that you would note have changed the world significantly were not neurotypical people. And so, and again, this isn't an episode on that, but it's just to say that's our ongoing experience. Our day to day is a moving target of insanity a lot of the time. And it's caused us to be very desperate. But yes, I'll go into I just wanted to set that. And you want to just
no, I mean, and I think the only thing I'd add to that is, for anybody who listened to Brooke's story and understanding what he's on a journey of healing from, and stuff in his generational line, and stuff that happened in his upbringing, which let me just also say, even if you came from a really healthy family, no family is perfect. No parent is perfect. All of us have childhood stuff, current stuff to heal from.
Yes.
Big T, little t, it doesn't matter. We are all on a healing journey. And I think it's easy to be like, well, I came from a good family, so I shouldn't have any healing to do, or I can't talk honestly about the parts of my family that maybe weren't so great because there were so many things that were good.
Mm.
So no matter what, as a parent, you are healing from the parts in your own story while you are trying to give your kids the best future that you can, recognizing you will not do it perfectly and they will have stuff they need to heal from that you caused.
Totally.
But I think a big part of our story is we got married at 21.
Mhm.
And I think very few people at the age of 21 have any sort of full understanding.
Well, their brains aren't even fully developed.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a fair statement of biology. So
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when we got married, nobody was talking about attachment styles, or at least that we would have understood
Yeah, no.
or heard.
I don't even know
But
if
we
I
had
kind of
all sorts of
understood it. Yeah.
attachment stuff that was greatly impacting our marriage.
Sure.
Yeah.
Brooke had his family story that he was not even fully conscious of yet, or conscious of how it had affected his life,
Yeah.
how it would later affect our family and our marriage. And so I would say the last decade, especially, kind of starting with our daughter with special needs, had a rare form of epilepsy as a baby called infantile spasms that's greatly impacted her life. And that kind of started this like decade of suffering, honestly, and of Brooke beginning to peel back the layers of the trauma in his story and of the healing that needed to happen, and us learning to be special needs parents and how do we have a strong marriage in the midst of that. The stats on the rate of divorce for marriages who are facing disability within their family is, I think it's like 92% last I read.
Staggering. It's staggering. Yeah.
So just all these different dynamics that are our family and are our story, and is our like healing journey that will be for the rest of our life.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
And for any parent listening, just to say, we are in the same boat as you. So
Yeah.
if you're like,
Yeah.
what are you dealing with? Panic attacks, meltdowns, kids embarrassing you in private and in public, disobedience, lying. I don't know, just like all the things you're dealing with.
Yes.
We're there with you. So, but there's hope. There is a ton of hope, but it's just not fair to not acknowledge that it is honestly that hard. And so many parents are doing so much better than they even know. The fact that you would listen to a podcast like this or any other to try to attempt to just grow
Again.
is better than most. And so it's just to note, like, so many people are doing a great job. They just don't have a lot of models. And our hope is to help bring some models of hope to people.
Yes. Talk to that about how both of you've worked through you're working through. I mean, I think it's a continuous process of working through our raise, how we were raised and our stories. I'm in that very deeply in my own story that, like, yes, we're doing a podcast, but I think it's what you're saying. Like, obviously we're getting up every day and still having to fight and struggle through life and deal with all of it. But we're learning our stories as we go. We're also raising kids as we go. And as we raise our kids, trying to break those, even what Elizabeth, you said, even about Brooke, breaking generational patterns. I think that's very real. But like, I feel like you guys have done a lot of work on that, studied about, know about that to help people listening about, like, they're in it, they're figuring out their own story while they're in the mess of raising kids. And what have you learned that is helpful in the middle of learning your own story, and how do you break the generational cycles in that? How does that even, like, with our brains, how are we wired? Like, can you speak to that for a second to help people feel normal as they're fighting through parenting in those?
Yeah. Let me give a biological foundation that will at least make biological sense, and then I would love to hear. I think we both probably have too much to say on this, so please cut us off. There's a couple things that go on. Procedural memory is one of them. Procedural memory is simply that part of your brain that does stuff without thinking. This is riding a bike. This is when you drive and you zone out, but you're still driving and you get to where you're supposed to be. It also works very real with parenting. And you were handed a nervous system in the family of origin that you came from, whether you want that or not, whether you think that's true or not. Do all the stats. Just take a second to respond to your kids in a way that your parents did. You'd be like, where does that come from? Well, that's all hardwired stuff. And then procedural memory is that knee-jerk reaction when all of a sudden you hear yourself responding or doing something similar out of a place of not thinking about it to your kids. We've all done this. We all know what it is. But those are the names. Those are the categories for it. There's real things for it. And the cool thing about procedural memory is it can be healed. The thing about even your nervous system is it can be changed and healed. And so so much of this for me actually was way more helpful when it went from like ethereal, like I'm just responding poorly, I'm doing it like my parents, to like concrete naming of like, hey, this is actually something that's going on biologically, and therefore it could potentially, because of how the brain and the body and all this works and the Spirit of God all together, this beautiful mesh, it can be healed. And so it just gave me a ton of hope. Now, it doesn't mean it's perfect. It just means it's a lot better than it was. And so
Yeah.
that foundation, I think the first thing you ask, well, what have we learned? What, like, first you have to just like start naming it and admitting to yourself that you need help, that you're not the parent you want to be. And whether you like it or not, for better or worse, even if your story was good, your story and how you grew up impacts you. I mean, that was a lot of the episode that we talked about. It absolutely shapes who you are, and that's not bad, but all of us have a redeeming invitation. And so just to give hope, like, what have I learned? I've learned that you got to name that. You have to understand you have to understand, like, when my kid does this, I do this. This is either good or bad. You know, what the response is, either good response, do more, or bad. Stop doing that, and then figure out how to stop doing that when your biology is just set to do that thing. That could be raising your voice. That could be being too intense, too physical, like whatever the thing is. And so then it's going on the journey of understanding, how do I heal and how do I actually grow in that? That's therapy for some. That's EMDR has been super helpful for me, just understanding that. Understanding I'm really dysregulated a lot of the time because that was the environment I grew up in. And so, like, again, all of these like pieces don't make my life necessarily it's not all gone, but as it makes sense. I know what the language is. If I'm dysregulated, I need to do this. If I'm overwhelmed, I need to do this. It gives me tools where before I didn't have any tools and it was kind of chaotic.
Yeah,
It's good.
That's so interesting, so helpful to even begin to understand that.
Yeah, and I think it's that. I mean, you said it, like naming what's happening, and understanding and naming what's happening doesn't mean that we can automatically, well, now I've named it and I understand it, so now I can just change it instantly. I think we also have to shed this very false, even dangerous idea that that healing is instantaneous, that it's like, even within the church, that like, well, I had inner healing prayer and I'm freed of my sin of anger forever. Like, I think there'd probably be very few who would say that is 100% truly their story.
Right.
Maybe a huge part of you was healed and something was lifted, but more often than not, healing is an ongoing process, ongoing, lifelong, and please hear that, like lifelong journey with Jesus. And Romans even talks about that. We are being transformed, not we arrive at transformation, or we were transformed once and so therefore we don't need it anymore. But especially with that idea of procedural memory and things from our past impacting our present reality, that just takes a lot of time to heal. I can honestly say Brooke has been deep in this work for 10 years, more than 10 years. And I can literally look and see how far he's come and how much is not a huge deal like it used to be. I can absolutely see that. Has everything healed? No. Does he always respond exactly the way he wants to as a parent? No.
Who's keeping track of it?
But is he? Yeah, probably me.
Who is?
I'm great at keeping score.
How do we know that I'm still not good? She knows, Just kidding.
Look at her journal. We read her journal and we know.
He's a lot. Keep going.
But has he gotten incredibly good at being very quick to repair and to come back to our kids who also understand, as much as age is appropriate, understand his story. He's constantly coming back and saying, I'm so sorry. That is not how I want to parent you. That's not how I want to respond. You guys know my story. You know that the healing process is long. Like, those are regular things that he's saying to our kids. And I will say, I think it's also important not to isolate, well, if you have this huge thing to heal from and this big overreactive nervous system that you're wanting to do differently with your kids, that is one part. That's a lot of people's story. I find myself very often, I was raised in a wonderful family. Again, not perfect, but there's a lot that they did get right. I was loved very well. And there's all sorts of things that were happening even in like the culture of the church at the time. I was raised at the height of purity culture, the height of everything being made moral and under the guise of character, which now we would know about like brain development. We called things character, that like children's brains were just not developmentally able to have what we would have called self-control in certain areas. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I'm wanting to undo. Yeah. But there's also, I find myself as the parent of neurodivergent kids and a daughter with autism and a whole host of stuff going on with her, I will find myself standing before my kids on one side, like logically knowing from like the education and all the therapies that our kids have had and all the training we've had of what, let's say our daughter with autism, like what is happening with her in the moment when she's having what looks like a temper tantrum, which is not actually a temper tantrum, it's a sensory meltdown or something like that. I can logically like look at that and understand what's happening, but my nervous system is angry and is processing. I would never have talked to my parents that way. I would never have been allowed to talk to my parents that way. What am I doing wrong as a parent that my kids think they can talk to me that way? Yes. Like I have this inner battle within myself of like seeing the kids that are in front of me and knowing in that moment what the Holy Spirit's guiding me to do, but fighting my own body and nervous system that is like at war in that moment. And so that's the work that I have to do.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And I want to stay there for a second because I'm thinking about like just in my world and my kind of my own issues that I'm constantly trying to work through as well, like realizing I know about myself that I am a perfectionist and that I have my own particular brand of perfectionism and kind of, works-based stuff that I have to break down. But I also know like that I kind of fight against that word. Like I don't want anyone to call me perfect. I don't want anyone to look at me and stuff like that get like I hate that. Like I won't like my skin crawl. And and so I have this fight against it.
You move away from it when people tell you like, oh, your voice is so great, amazing. You're like,
sometimes
you retreat.
I'm learning about myself that sometimes I will like purposely not perform to a certain degree of excellence because I don't want to be in that category of like,
that's good.
So, but when it comes to parenting, I mean, I was even talking to my therapist a little while ago and kind of breaking down some of the ways that I would, feel throughout my childhood and unpacking all this stuff. And she said, it sounds like there has only ever been the option of perfection. Like that's the only option that you saw in your performance and that you didn't give yourself another option. So it's so interesting that I'm fighting against that all the time, but I still feel like I have to be that. And like, that's the only option. And so then now when I'm parenting and I'm like, I don't want to expect that from my kids. I don't want to expect perfection from them. I don't want them to feel like they have to perform in that way for me or for my affection or approval. But I'm relating to your inner turmoil, Elizabeth, when you're like in this and you feel all this happening inside. So I would love for y'all to unpack that even more of just like even it's just maybe how it is personally for you or some of the practicalities of that, how that's looked as you've begun to do that work and what it looks like for you practically in your parenting as you're kind of finding your own you've done the work and you realize you're learning about yourself, but then you have to actually play it out.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm so resonating with how you are wired because it is so similar to how I'm wired. I'm absolutely the same. Like I can't stand it if there's some like perceived by other people level of perfection because I'm like that's just not true and not helpful. And I feel like an obligation to just shed that false ideal that other people might have. While at the very same time, I have a ton of internal pressure on myself to get everything right.
Right.
And And really it is an internal pressure. Like I absolutely can say it's not coming from my husband. It's not coming from my parents. It is, I mean, obviously there's things in childhood that shaped it, but it is an internal
It's your
pressure.
parents' fault. Let's be honest. But they did raise three. The
Yes.
three oldest are raging ones on the Enneagram perfectionists.
Yes.
I mean, it is comical because Phil and Diane both. Oh, it's so funny because
the whole family is
they're
perfectionist.
like, we were at dinner the other night, and it's so funny because Phil and Diane are both. We joke about this with them, so this is not throwing shade. Like they're perfectionists in different directions about different things.
Yeah.
And where that's funny when parenting is they've raised kids who like all the grandkids were at the table. We're sitting at dinner, and Phil was sharing this song from a long time ago about something. It's like this little ditty from a commercial. And then Duke's like, "Oh, I'm going to sing it like this." And he goes, "Well, if you sing it, you need to make sure to sing it right. You need to sing it right." And it goes like this. So Duke's trying to joke, and he's slowing him down. He's like, "No, you got to get it right." And then he did it. And he's like, "No, that's not it. It's this." And it was like,
well, then the whole table is joking
we're all acting
about the
yes,
perfectionism.
this is why everyone's brains are like,
Yes.
nobody was singing a jingle the wrong way.
Honest, like I'm over here working on myself.
But then she's like, "Yeah, I feel safe. I like that. Yep, you got to get it right." You know, like it's.
But
she's like having the people.
That highlights though the idea of like when there's generational stuff in your family and you want to stop it. When a whole family has a framework, like, and I would say I will give great credit to my parents. In this.
Yeah.
They are not blind. I'd say, especially my mom, not blind to the generational stuff on both sides that has informed the current Comer family.
Yeah.
And my mom sees it kind of as her mission to lovingly like point out the stuff that's in the family line that she's like, man, I allowed this to pass on because I wasn't even aware of it. No shame, just I wasn't even aware of it.
Yep.
And how can I come alongside you guys to help fight some of those perfectionistic tendencies? And so I love that it's like the whole family, our kids, my nieces and nephews are joking about a course-in of the Comer family of like self-reliance, perfectionism, because we all have a framework for it's there and it's in all of us. And we would like it to lessen with each generation.
It kills me.
But back to your question, there's a phrase that my therapist was working with me for a very long time that was so foreign to me at first and it literally is actually a like psychological clinical term, but it's just good enough parenting. And when I first heard that, I was like, that's
not biblical.
Yeah. Like you don't just do good enough.
That's for you. Keep that to yourself.
Yes, but it's literally this like clinically studied idea that our kids do not need perfect parents. In fact, that's not even entirely helpful. We know it's not helpful for them to never face things that are hard, to never have to repair in relationships does not build resilient relationships. They really don't need a perfect parent. They need, literally the term is good enough parents. It just means parents who want to show up, who are willing to make the repairs, who are at least putting in as much effort as they can in that season, at that time of their life, to show up for their kids and be present as much as they can. We know about secure attachment. To raise securely attached kids, we need parents who will attune to their kids, meaning be present for their emotional, physical, like present for their needs, like 30% of the time. And we can raise securely attached kids. Which means we can miss it a lot.
Yes.
And still raise securely attached kids. So I think for me, it was like learning that phrase and slowly over time accepting that like in this season, especially with all my chronic health stuff, I just need to do good enough, which means there's a lot of things, a whole list of them that I need to name and be aware of that I just can't do right now. And part of the journey of not passing that on to my kids or having an expectation of my kids for perfection is me accepting all of the areas that I can't perform as a mom in the way that I wish I could right now. And naming it, letting myself grieve that, but then showing up in the ways that I know that I can helps me not, and I don't do this perfectly, helps me not transfer all of that unmet expectation that I have on myself onto my kids.
That is so good. the way that also like plays out, I'm not, I don't, I mean, I am, I'm not, I don't struggle with perfectionism as much as you, but I'd say you have your own. It looks different.
Uh-huh.
Jeff, you're a perfectionist. Yes.
That's my. So I'm
Oh,
trying.
you've got
But
it too, though.
my point is, just in a practical way to relate to dads listening to is just I'm thinking a lot about how yesterday, even getting back to this bougie lake house we're at, we're here because I was like basically at the end of myself, and I was like, if I don't get away, I'm going to snap. And I was just with work and with ministry and with open spaces, just so many things. So
Yeah.
I was like, I reached out to this guy and he let us come. But when, then we get here, I'm still trying to work on things and carry everything. And I had a moment yesterday when Brooke and I finally got on the phone, and I'm just venting to him about everything that I'm feeling and just like where I'm at in life and feeling so overwhelmed. And with that, I just feel like so much pressure to perform for my kids, like that I'm not showing up for my kids well enough. But I didn't even know that until I just like mentioned it in one of the bullet points. And then Brooke, you stopped me and more and let me. I mean, I needed you yesterday when you said, "Hey, you're a good dad, and you are taking care of your family. And if you just sit down at dinner and tell your kids, hey, I'm not getting it right now. This is what Brooke was telling me to do. And I'm not getting it as right as I want to right now, but I'm working through it. And I just want to be honest with y'all. I'm not being the person I want to be. And just talking to them openly about it and ask for forgiveness. And then you were like, they're going to forgive you so quickly. And it's just like
because
that.
you don't have to perform for them.
Because I don't have to perform for them. And because it was reminding me that I have lived a life of performance equals acceptance, and performance on stages and from people and the environments that we're in. And it was like, it's the thing that broke me in the whole conversation yesterday. But I'm just grateful for having a friend in you, Brooke, that would remind me, and I'm just reminding other people listening that if you feel like you're drowning in the parenting thing, what is so practical and good, what is just like, it doesn't take much. Like you can just sit down and tell your kids, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm sorry I'm missing, and how quick a kid will forgive you and move on, where we try to like think like it's like so deep and we have to have all these. And we don't. And so I just want that to go out beyond our conversation, because I think it's so helpful for me and for dads listening and moms, but like to have that conversation in the perfectionism.
Well,
and
we're friends outside. Like, here's the truth. Like, outside of this little thing online, we actually are friends outside of this, which I love, and we love you guys very much. And we're just inviting ourselves to that vacation house with you guys for next time. So just note that. Hopefully there's enough beds. We'll be there. But it is to say, like, yeah, I mean, Jeff, you fall in the category of so many just like I do. And the only reason I can name that so well in you is because it's the same thing I do to myself, right? So it's to say, like, I don't know how to get it right. So I'm always kind of almost over functioning in certain ways that I don't know when to chill. But even the fact that your kids, that you would be present enough to be concerned about that shows how good of a dad you are, right? And it's really disorienting when you don't have good models or even guidelines of like, well, what is too much, what's too little, and you're not going to get it wrong. So most of us overdo it, and it's helpful to have those moments, whether it's a friend or a spouse or different, it's different people at different times, to just remind you, like, dude, and I met all of your kids. Your kids are not only so securely attached, they're so rad. I can't wait to hang out with them again. No offense to you guys. They're so sweet. And it was like, it's you guys are incredible. I mean, it's so clear, incredible parents. But at the same time, it's so funny that incredible parents often feel like the worst parents. And so it's like the backside weakness of wanting to do a good job. And I don't think people always tell you that. So anyway, I don't mean to derail, but yes, whoever's listening, be gracious with yourself. It's hard. It's hard.
It is. Yes. Thank you for that. Thanks for being a good friend to me.
No.
I'm gonna turn the corner for a second, because you guys referenced in the beginning about kind of talking about your kids and some of the things that you're carrying. And in addition to your the issues of some of your kids, of all your kids. You also have, Elizabeth, your chronic pain and your back issues. And I would love to talk about how you are walking through all of that as a family and like some of your conversations with your kids. And I think too, being in ministry and being able to relate to some of the things that you're just like, okay, eh, we might just be up against it. Everybody's going to be up against it as long as we're on the earth. But even some of the specific ways in ministry that we're just like, we're targeted by the enemy, because of what we're doing and trying to help build in the kingdom. And so that, when we've accepted that as part of what it is to walk in ministry, but we also have a stewardship of like, how do we steward this suffering? How do we steward these darts and knowing that our family is going to have a certain type of struggle. And then, there will always be surprising struggles that come up and that we weren't prepared for and that we didn't see coming. But I would love for y'all to talk about how you are currently walking as a family and all of that and some of the conversations you have. And because I would imagine your kids are probably in different spaces with how they kind of carry their own faith and walk through these things. So
Oh yeah.
understand how that looks for you guys and where you're at with that right now.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I could start us. I think that it's really tempting to want to control your kids' emotions in general. Big emotions make me feel big, so I don't want them to feel big, so I squash their emotions, right? It's like, stop freaking out. It's like when they're freaking out and it dysregulates me, you want to stop it. So that's a practical thing, but like switch that to the positive. So that's like a negative example. Well, I want to control how my kids respond to God in their suffering and pain, but I can't control that either. I have to try to basically help them see through my life every single day and then through lots of conversations where real hope is. What do you do with fear? What do you do with your anxiety? What do you do with this fear of where mom's health is and your own? And I don't think we have this at all dialed. I think what we're trying to do with our, like how we're handling suffering in our home is just being really honest about it. Like we don't talk, we're very open about all the details of suffering in life. And some people, even listening, might be like, well, don't label your kids that they have ADHD, or don't label your daughter that she's autistic or has a whole host of, actual diagnoses. The reason we do that isn't because we're trying to label them. It's so that we can explain them to them and that we can give framework for when Birdie is maybe as a 10-year-old operating as a 2-year-old in the moment, that we can explain to her older brother who's very frustrated, like, what the heck? Why is this happening? You're going, well, let's remind you, this is what's going on in her body and brain. I understand that she physically looks like she should have this going on, and she doesn't have a physical disability. She has an invisible one. And so this is what that looks like. Therefore, we need to be gracious. This is how we handle that. So it's a lot of talking. It's a lot of describing. It's a lot of explaining. Here's what's going on with mom. Here's what's going on with her body in this moment. Here's what ADHD is, kids. Here's how we know you have it. And here's what we're doing. And here's why I want you to know that, so you can know that you're not broken. You actually have this ironic, beautiful superpower, but this isn't, this certain part of your brain and biology aren't helping you. So what we're trying to do is get this online in a way through different activities or different medications, potentially, depending on your kid, to help you move through the world in a way that you don't feel like a burden or a bummer to everybody else. And so these are the types of things that we are doing on a regular basis, but it's, again, not because we're trying to label or trying to make something, oh, what was us? Like, we have all this stuff. It's like, no, this is our life. Right. And it really does help when you have framework and language. And kids, I said this before, but it's interesting how kids especially, if you don't explain what's happening to kids, what often opens up is a narrative void. And a narrative void is just simply like there's a void of understanding, and often kids will fill themselves in as the problem. So this is an example of like, well, everyone at school treats me like this, therefore I must be a problem. I must be messed up. I must not be likable. All of these things. When you sit, especially your kids, down and you can explain to them what's really going on, you save them a world of pain in the future. Because like in our daughter Birdie's situation, it would be like, sweetheart, you're really shy in a social setting because you're masking, and that takes all of your energy, and you don't know how to be social, and because you're overwhelmed by social environments, you shut down. Therefore, people will say you're shy, you're not friendly, these different things in public. We know you to be the opposite. You are very friendly. You are very kind. You're just not going to do that until you know people and you feel safe. You're not weird. That's just what's going on. So that's a little example of like, you're filling that narrative for her so it doesn't become a void where she's just going through life like, I'm broken, I'm messed up, I'm wrong, I'm broke, that kind of stuff. So those are, there's more that I'm sure Elizabeth will add, but that's some of the bigger bucket stuff that I know comes up on a daily basis for us.
That is very good. I love that, naming it so it can be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, it's so tempting as a parent, especially when it comes to the emotional side of things, the things that are just really hard in life when we experience pain and suffering, which every single one of us this side of heaven does.
Yeah.
It's so tempting as a parent to, because if we love our kids, we're good-hearted parents, we want to protect them from experiencing pain. So it can be easy to think, well, I just need to not talk to them about the really hard parts of life. Or in my case, like maybe not share very honestly with them about what it's like to be chronically ill and how like physically, emotionally, spiritually hard it is to navigate that and live in chronic pain. Like, because I already know they're experiencing my limitations. I don't want them to have to carry the emotional weight of what I'm carrying. And a lot of that is good and helpful and true. And we need to be very careful to not be placing burdens on our kids that they don't need to carry. And we need to really know our kids. Like I've got one daughter in particular who is naturally picks up my burdens, basically, like feels deeply for me. And so I have to constantly be aware of that and doing what I can do to take things off of her. But where I'm going with this is our kids will experience suffering. And so to shield them from it entirely or to only speak positively about things that are super hard is not doing them any sort of favors in their future life. And so we talk, and this is a fancy way of saying it, but the importance of teaching your kids a theology of suffering, an accurate theology of suffering, because how many of us personally have like gotten into adulthood and we're like, wait, but God works everything together for good, right?
And I did all this stuff.
I did all the right things. I've always served God. Why are these bad things happening to us? Well, that's because our whole life has been built on a really inaccurate, weak theology of what the scriptures actually teach about suffering. It is promised that we will have trouble, that we will share in the sufferings of Christ, that we will experience persecution in some form as a follower of Jesus, that we will suffer in our bodies. Like Jesus went around healing diseases, casting out demons. Like he went around helping the suffering people. And so over time, as prosperity gospel entered the church, I don't even know, couldn't even trace back exactly how it became as robust as it has become, where we've somehow not taught our kids those scriptures and only taught like the first part of James 1 that talks about having joy in the midst of difficult circumstances. But that verse is actually about the perseverance and the character that is formed by suffering. The joy happens because of what the suffering produces. And the scriptures are filled with verses about how present God is in the midst of our heartache and our pain and in our disappointment. And so that idea of teaching that theology to our kids, you do not have to have a seminary degree. You do not have to follow a curriculum. It is from a very young age all the way through where you are age appropriately just sharing about the hard things that are happening, the hard things that are happening to you or the hard things that are happening to them. Man, it was really hard when that friend rejected you. I'm so sorry. Like, can I just be with you right now? Like that idea of if God is present to us, we as parents get to example that to our kids, to just be with our kids in their hard.
Yeah.
Pointing them to Jesus always, but not in a way that we're like reframing it. Oh no, you don't need to feel any of the pain associated with that. It's going to be fine.
It's all going to be okay.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It hasn't been yet. I got to be honest. I'm like thinking of a book right now. Life sucks. Here's how to try some things. Like try some new things. But I'm just saying, life is so hard. And when we spiritually reframe for our kids because we haven't dealt with the reality and the acceptance of suffering, you're just passing on a burden to your kids that doesn't set them up well for life, because they will have trouble. And it's hopefully not going to be terrible. But in our circumstance, it's been really bad, and it hasn't gotten easier. And we're not hopeless, but we are like, we'd like a little break, it's how we feel. But
and what we all want for our kids is that in the midst of whatever comes in their life, that their first inclination would be to run to God, not run from him.
That's right.
And so we imperfectly model that to our kids. Like, hey, this thing is really hard. And I read this verse this morning. It really spoke to me. And I just want to read it at the dinner table. Or again, it's not this formulaic. They're kids. Yes. They're not going to sit and have an hour-long heart-to-heart with you about it. But it's this slow trickle, that idea of in Deuteronomy that talks about when you rise up, and when you lie down, and when you walk by the way. Like, we are sharing Jesus with them constantly. We're sharing a theology of suffering with them constantly, because we're sharing who God is in the midst of that and what God can do. God can work the darkest things in our life for good. You guys are living proof of that. The hardest part of your story has now birthed a ministry that is impacting so many and impacting the church to have these types of honest conversations about our suffering and about our pain and about our weakness.
That's right.
That is what God can do. That's what he can turn to good. But I love how honestly you guys share. Jeff, it does not mean that your struggle is gone.
Yes.
Like, it is this both and of holding redemption in one hand and continued pain and sorrow in the other, joy and sorrow at the same time.
Absolutely.
And if we can give our kids like an embedded foundation so that is their procedural memory, that like when hard things happen, I run to Jesus, I run to my community, I'm embedded in a church, then we've given them at least a foundation that they can build off of when hard happens in their life.
You guys,
it will.
You got her going. You're going to have to stop.
I can talk about this forever and ever and ever.
It is so good. It's also just real. It's so real life. And like, I think I was raised in a way where I don't know why I was raised this way, or like, I feel like a lot of us were, where we didn't know the hard things happening in our parents' world. And it was very much shielded from any kind of financial hardship or anything happening in marriage. And it's so interesting now being an adult and raising kids. And when things happened, the first thing for us was that we had a miscarriage, and it like knocked us out. And it was like, we had nowhere to go because we all live in the same house. So our kids were brought into that process, and there was nowhere to hide. And it was like so reframing for me, because I had tried to I just wanted to shield my kids from suffering, and I wanted to shield them from in a way that like they didn't need to carry that. And I love, Elizabeth, what you said about not helping your kids not carry the things they're not supposed to carry. And and that, like where you're being honest and sharing, but you're also realizing that they're kids and like what they don't need to carry, and try to take that off of them. That's just such a good word for a parent. But it's just so true. It's everywhere, and teaching them suffering happens within life and our journey. And
I think we can be afraid of how is this going to negatively impact their faith? Like, what are they going to say about God? Are they going to be mad at God? Are they going to turn away from him because of these things? But I think we also lose the opportunity to show them and to remember ourselves. God is the one who pursues them. Like, he's the one who cares the most about their heart and their spirit and their mind. And he is the ultimate protector of his own reputation. So he's going.
Yes. So good.
He's gonna do the work in them. And if we allow them to come into it with us, and and allow them to see how we're leaning into the Lord, and like, hey, we're waiting for God. We're waiting for him to show up. We're waiting for him to come through. We're waiting for him to heal. And even with our question marks, like we're also allowing them to be like, okay, God, what are you going to do?
Part of
and
the
then
journey.
for God to show up for them. And like, we don't have the answers, but he's big enough and powerful enough and cares more deeply and can and will come through. And so I think we get caught up in that fear so much that it's miss out on letting them see the miracle too of what God will do and how he'll pursue them.
Yes,
he does.
Man, I love everything y'all just said about it. I think it's super helpful. And I know we can't keep talking. We're over an hour. So we will not keep you all day.
Oh, we could talk with you guys all day long. We love
You can go as long as you want. I don't care.
This morning we were talking, she was like, should we just have them on like once a quarter? Like, hey, we're doing our check-in with Brooke and Elizabeth. I was like, yeah, this is like
we're down.
We love it.
I want people to know where, every time we have y'all on, because there'll be more, but every time, Brooke, you're good at this, tell us where people can find you, your ministry, all the stuff, because they need to always know about Intentional and the motherhood retreat and the fatherhood retreat happening in Austin in November. We need to talk about all of it.
If they're not sold out, tell people where they can register.
They're not sold out. I mean, not at this point. So yeah, intentionalparents.org would be a great place to find all of the information you need. We do have another website, intentionalfatherhood.org, which is just fatherhood specific. And a couple notes is the Intentional Fatherhood podcast is seasonal, but we just released our 3rd season. And those are both, I just want to say this, they are both very they're very deep and they're very honest and they're very practical. And so if you like open spaces and vulnerability and like, hey, we all suck as dads, but we want to do better.
Yes.
Feel free. Justin and I go real hard in that. And then, and so we have, that's where you can find us. Social media is all on that space as well. Our next motherhood retreat is in October 15 through 17 in Portland with you guys, which will be fun. And then the fatherhood retreat is in Austin, Texas in November, which is, I believe, the 12th through the 14th. And then, honestly, by the time this comes out, we'll be announcing a marriage retreat we'll be doing, which is really fun. We love doing marriage retreats; those are really fun. And some fun places. Yeah, that's gonna be real fun. And I think those are all the things. I'm pretty sure.
People need to go to these retreats. They are so worth every sacrifice. You just need to go.
You do.
No.
You need to get there.
Oh, also, we got to say one more thing. You guys are going to be here in September, correct? I can't wait. So the next time you'll see
up there, we're going to get to come and like see y'all. There.
We're pumped, but we're going to, the next time you'll see Jeff and Jordan maybe before that, but we'll do an episode here in our studio, which will be fun. Can't wait. We'll have you guys on.
New studio. Y'all look so good. So
lighting does miracles. Lighting does miracles.
Well, thank y'all so much.
I love you guys so much. Y'all are helping so many parents, families, and your life is just so impactful. And we see the fruit of it all the time where we are in our purpose. So we love you guys. Thank y'all for being on today.
I know you guys love Brooke and Elizabeth as much as we do. They have, they're just a well of wisdom, and they're incredible friends, like we've already mentioned. So you're going to want to go and find all those resources that they mentioned. Come to the retreats and listen to their podcast. Get the book. I don't even know if we mentioned Brooke's book, Sowing a Hidden Seed. It's incredible.
Oh my gosh!
An awesome resource for parents.
How to pray for your kids.
Praying for your kids, practically.
Yeah, we're doing that.
So go get all of those things, and I hope you've enjoyed our parenting series.
Yes.
We really have. We've learned a lot.
We've loved our guest, and it's just been really great to have helpful. I think all of us as parents need help. Yes. So we're not experts. We're just trying to ask people what they do and try to find help in our own way. So hope it's been helpful to you guys. We will see you back next time on Open Spaces.